Welcome back to the channel, aviators. Imagine this. You're flying the legendary MiG-21 at 700 kilometers per hour. Suddenly, the world outside disappears. No horizon, no landmarks, just clouds and darkness. How do fighter pilots survive and land safely? Today I'll take you inside the cockpit to show exactly how real pilots fly the MiG-21 using instruments only, right here in DCS World. Strap in, because this is as real as it gets. Let's start with a taxi. I'll explain a few things as we move to the lineup point.
Call key. In field 1. Request taxi to runway.
In real-life flying, instrument sorties are mandatory for every operationally qualified fighter pilot in my country. They are not optional. Each pilot must complete at least one dedicated instrument sortie as part of their monthly continuation training. For today's flight, I'll zoom in on the instrument panel so you have a better view. Inside the MiG-21 cockpit, every piece of information, speed, altitude, attitude, and navigation, comes from analog instruments. There are no modern avionics or digital autopilots to make the job easier. This means the pilot must fly with constant discipline and total focus on the dials. Even the smallest mistake can quickly escalate into a dangerous situation. For fighter pilots, instrument flying is not just a skill, it's survival. It enables us to fly safely through clouds, in darkness, and in poor visibility while still completing the mission. When you're flying at 600 kilometers per hour with zero visibility outside, you must trust your instruments completely. This is what separates professional pilots from casual flyers. In today's video, I'll take you step by step through a typical instrument flying sortie in the MiG-21 inside DCS World. You'll see exactly how real pilots use these tools to navigate, stay safe, and return home, even when the outside world disappears. Now let me explain today's mission before takeoff. I'll carry out a normal takeoff, and after reaching 500 meters, I'll transition fully to instruments. From there, I'll turn right towards Sector Alpha on a north heading, climbing to 5,000 meters at a speed of 600 kilometers per hour. After leveling off, I'll demonstrate a 45-degree turn, followed by a 60-degree turn. Then, I'll perform a 15 meter per second climb and descent. Finally, I'll rejoin, fly the initial approach, and complete the landing.
Call key. In field 1. Request takeoff.
Takeoff clearance obtained. Applying full power. Engine gauges within limits. Up and ahead clear, release brakes. Initially, maintain direction with brakes. And as speed builds, control direction with rudders. At 200 kilometers per hour, nose up and hold attitude. At 310, airborne. Passing 15 meters, positive rate of climb, landing gear up. Check, 3 reds. Above 100 meters, flaps up. Transitioning into instrument flight. Now I'm solely flying on instruments. Speed 600 kilometers per hour, altitude 500 meters. Afterburner off, right turn, bank 45 degrees. This is a climbing turn. During a climbing turn, speed plays a critical role. If you don't monitor it, you can easily stall. Always check attitude, speed, heading, and altitude. Approaching north, reducing bank, and rolling out. Since this is an instrument flying sortie, I'm trying to hold the exact parameters as much as possible. Heading off by 10 degrees, correcting. Climb parameters looking good. Gear lever neutral. Trim set. It's a challenge to maintain exact parameters in a manual jet like the MiG-21. Constant checks and corrections are required. When it comes to instrument flying, The gauges are divided into two groups: control instruments and performance instruments. Control instruments are the artificial horizon and the RPM gauge. Performance instruments are the airspeed indicator, vertical speed indicator, and the altimeter. There's a planned sequence to scan these instruments called the scanning pattern. It always centers on the attitude from the artificial horizon. If you change attitude, your speed, altitude, and VSI will change. So if you want to hold fixed parameters at any point, you first set the correct attitude. Here's the scanning pattern I use for the climb. Check attitude. Check speed, 600, looking good. Check heading. Check altitude. Check VSI. That's the cycle I repeat throughout the climb. If I see something off, I correct the attitude first, then bring the other parameters back in line. See the altitude? It's 3,800. We are climbing fast. Next is leveling off at 5,000 meters, while maintaining 600 kilometers per hour. The basic theory in level off is power, attitude, trim, check, adjust, retrim. To level off at the exact altitude is a bit challenging. You need to know the level attitude first, then slowly get the aircraft there while reducing power, keeping eyes on attitude, speed, altitude, and VSI. Proper coordination is key. I leveled off about 30 meters below. Now correcting to exact 5,000. Trim the aircraft properly. Then do periodic checks. No warning lights in the cockpit, oil pressure, temperature, hydraulics within limits, check fuel, check area orientation. Next, I'll do a 45-degree banking turn at the edge of the sector. I'll try to maintain exact 5,000 meters throughout. Unlike other trainers, in this aircraft, we don't practice full 360 banking turns due to fuel limits. We recover at 180. We are here now, so we can initiate the turn. Procedure. Check attitude first, then pivot the nose. Apply power, 8%, check speed, altitude, and VSI. While turning, call out bank, balance, back pressure. Hold back pressure. Don't let the VSI climb or descend. The scanning pattern for the turn is attitude, bank, altimeter, VSI, then speed. Small variations in speed are allowed. Change power if required. Keep in mind, VSI is a pressure instrument, so it takes time to settle after corrections. Wait before changing attitude again. We roll out on heading 180, reducing bank and getting wings level. During rollout, pivot the nose, reduce back pressure, and roll at the same time.
There's a high tendency to climb here, so keep that in mind. Good turn. Now, flying straight and level to the inner end of the sector for a 60-degree level turn. Even after a good 45-degree turn, don't relax. Keep scanning for straight and level. Check attitude. Height, 5,000 meters. VSI 0. Speed, 600 km/h.
You have to keep scanning until you finish the sortie. With practice and experience, these corrections will come naturally. Until you gain that level of experience, work hard to fly at the exact parameters. If you see a 10 km/h difference in the airspeed indicator, a 10-meter difference in the altimeter, or even a 1-degree heading change on the compass, don't accept it. Do the correction. Yes, other parameters may shift slightly, but that's okay. Fight to fly as close to the exact parameters as possible. Another important point, we don't perform instrument flying sorties solo. These are always done in the trainer, with another pilot seated behind. The rear pilot keeps eyes outside, while the front pilot flies on instruments. I forgot to mention that earlier. Now we've reached the inner end of Sector Alpha. Let's start the 60-degree banking turn. Starting turn. Nose pivot. Bank, balance, back pressure. Passing 30. Apply power. Keep scanning. Check attitude. Bank. Altimeter. Vertical speed. And heading. In this turn, speed can vary by 10 to 20 km/h. That's acceptable, but still aim to hold the exact parameters. The roll rate here is faster than in the previous 45-degree turn. Rolling out. Remember, initiate 15 degrees early, 1/4 of the bank angle. Our final maneuver is a 15 vertical velocity descent and climb. I'll dive with a vertical velocity of 15 down, speed 600 km/h, and a 45-degree bank. Descend 1,000 meters while turning 180 degrees. Then, reverse the maneuver into a climbing turn. Maintain vertical velocity 15 up, speed 600, climb 1,000 meters, and complete another 180-degree heading change. At the end, we'll be on the same heading and altitude we started with. Let's begin. Lower the attitude, check speed, reduce power to 75%. Vertical velocity 15, bank 45 left. Keep scanning. Attitude, bank, vertical velocity, speed, altitude, and heading. If you're doing it correctly, you should be down by 500 meters when crossing 90 degrees of heading change. We started a bit late, so we'll approach 4,000 meters first. Approaching 4,000. Level off, apply full power, but continue turning until heading north. Now reversing turn. Vertical velocity 15 up. Bank 45. Speed 600. Keep scanning throughout the maneuver. Adjust bank, attitude, and speed as required. Ready to roll out? Rolling out now. That was a good maneuver. I added the outside view of the 15 VVI descending and climbing for your better understanding. I actually learned this maneuver during training with another country. It was my first time performing it there. It's an excellent maneuver to practice coordination in flying. And it's not just this one. There are several other demanding instrument flight maneuvers, which I'll show in my next video. Otherwise, this one would get way too long. If you have any doubts about jet flying, leave a comment below. I don't know everything, but I'll do my best to answer. And if you notice any mistakes I make, don't hesitate to point them out. It really helps me improve. I'm done with instrument flying now. I'm coming out of the instruments and carrying out rejoin checks. No warning lights in the cockpit. Warning light panel pressed to test. Oil pressure, temperature, and hydraulic. All within limits. Set QFE, descending below 4,000 meters. Fuel quantity is sufficient for a diversion. Let's rejoin.
Call key. In field. 1. Inbound.
I've switched on RSBN to find my runway direction. It's a great navigational aid for a Cold War jet. It shows both the runway direction and the distance to the runway. Now we are heading towards the runway. You can see the distance from here. I'm planning to fly initials and then join the downwind of runway 27 for landing. I'll gradually descend from 5,000 meters to 1,000 meters. Normally, we don't fly on the last drop of fuel. Over the initials, we should have enough fuel to divert to the nearest airfield, carry out an instrument approach, go around if needed, and land. This is called bingo fuel. It varies from airfield to airfield, even in the same aircraft. Just for your knowledge. I can see the runway now. Let's line up the aircraft to fly the initials. My altitude is still high, so I'll descend gradually. While flying the initials over the runway during a rejoin, you can perform whatever safe and appropriate maneuvers to get properly aligned. This includes gentle turns, speed adjustments, and altitude corrections to ensure the aircraft is positioned correctly relative to the runway and the traffic pattern. The goal is to establish a stable, predictable path over the runway so that when you transition to the downwind leg, you're at the right altitude, heading, and spacing. Flying the initials over the runway is about precision and coordination. You need to manage your descent carefully, avoid overshooting the intended line, and maintain a smooth flight path. Doing this correctly sets up the entire landing sequence, keeps the pattern organized, and ensures a safe, controlled rejoin. Watching this from the outside view can really help you understand how the aircraft behaves and how these initial maneuvers flow into the rest of the landing pattern. The downwind height is 1,000 meters, with speed below 600 kilometers per hour. The heading is opposite the active runway. Let's do pre-landing checks. Hydraulic pressure, within limits, speed below 550 kilometers per hour. Gear down, trim the aircraft. Apply power to 90%. Check 3 greens, ARM light on. You need to roll out on the downwind with the correct displacement, as I explained in my previous landing procedure video. In this aircraft, you must pay close attention during the base turn. This is not a forgiving aircraft. That's why it's nicknamed the Widowmaker and Flying Coffin. Keep that in mind. Don't mishandle the aircraft or fly recklessly. If you lose speed in the base turn, it's very hard to regain. Stick to the exact parameters. Roll out and reduce power to 85%, flaps down. Maintain 400 kilometers per hour. Always monitor the runway and speed during the base turn. Perform a shallow descent and try to align with the runway correctly on the first attempt.
Today the approach is a bit high, but that's okay. I can manage.
During the approach, we follow a scanning pattern: aiming point speed, centerline speed. If your approach is correct, you can land this aircraft easily. With experience, we practice a reducing speed approach. Start at 400 kilometers per hour and reduce gradually to 360 to 370 kilometers per hour. By the time you touch down, the speed will be 330 to 320 kilometers per hour, allowing for a smooth landing. If you're unsure, maintain a constant 400 kilometers per hour until short final. Reducing power. And touchdown. That was a good landing. I added the outside view of the landing part at the end of the video for those who enjoy seeing the aircraft from an external perspective. This view gives a much clearer understanding of the approach and landing sequence. You can see how the aircraft aligns with the runway, manages its descent, and executes the base turn. It also shows how the flaps, landing gear, and speed control come together during the landing. Watching from the outside helps you visualize the aircraft's behavior, its attitude, and how smoothly or aggressively it touches down. For many, the cockpit view alone doesn't fully convey the dynamics of the aircraft, so this outside perspective adds a lot of value, especially for those learning the maneuver or just enjoying the flight visually. With the stick available in this game, I'm still struggling to smooth my landings, because we don't feel the stick force. In real life, we deploy the drag chute before touching the nose to the ground. Here, I couldn't do that with my HOTAS setup. So I released the chute at the chute collector. Now, let's taxi back to the apron. That's it for today's video. I'll bring the second part of the instrument flying sortie in the next video. If you have questions or notice any mistakes I made, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching.